Hey guys, Bios Ramos, and today the Miami Dolphins lost to the New York Jets 21-22. So close. So, with that being said, let's get into the video.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team.
To be honest with you guys, I only saw the first half of the game. I just caught up on the highlights. I just came back from the Jaguars and Chargers game. Chargers blew out the Jaguars, by the way. And, man, we almost beat the Jets just kicking field goals. That was absurd. At some point, we had a lead of 18-16. Then they kicked the field goal. They got the lead 19-18. And then we kicked the field goal 21-19. And then they got a screen pass that went long. Like, it ended up going pretty long distance. And then 3rd and 17, we had him out of field goal range. Andrew Van Ginkel got a sack, and he was trying to strip out the ball out of Sam Darnold's hand. Next play, 3rd and 17, Sam Darnold throws it pretty much somewhat would be in field goal range. Called PI, questionable call, but it could have gone either way. The defender got to him just a little bit early, if anything. I don't disagree or agree with the call. Kind of neutral about it because it could have gone either way. But effectively, that's pretty much what cost the Dolphins a win here, because we had the defensive play that set them out of field goal range. But all that being said, let's go over some stats. Ryan Fitzpatrick went 21 of 37 for 245 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception, and was sacked twice for a loss of 5 yards. Meanwhile, Sam Darnold went 20 of 36, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked once for a loss of 8 yards. That was that second down play I was talking about that led to the 3rd down pass interference that gave the Jets the yardage to get the game-winning kick off. Now, let's look at rushing. Ryan Fitzpatrick leads the Dolphins in rushing once again this week. 7 carries, 65 yards. Then we have Patrick Laird next with 15 carries, 48 yards. He had a pretty good game all around. Rushing, receiving, blocking. A great game from Patrick Laird. Myles Gaskin, 4 carries for 5 yards, and one of the carries he had went backwards but ended up being a face mask and gave us the yardage that we needed. Next, Clive Walford, no carries, but he had 4 yards because Fitzpatrick lateraled it back to him on one of the runs that he had. Meanwhile, for the Jets, Bilal Powell, 19 carries, 74 yards. And then Ty Montgomery, 9 carries, 31 yards. Robbie Anderson, 1 carry, 4 yards. And Sam Darnold, 3 carries for 3 yards. The Robbie Anderson one was a screenplay that kind of was like behind the line of scrimmage, and then he just 31 moved up the ball. Next, we have the receiving stats. We have Isaiah Ford was our leading receiver with 6 receptions, 92 yards, off of 9 targets. He had a pretty good game. This is the announcer said, "Oh, this is Isaiah Ford's coming out party," and it basically was. This is the first time he's gotten any real NFL action besides preseason, and he took all the opportunity that he got out of it, especially with Devontae Parker getting out of the game injured. Don't know the severity of his injury, but I hope he can return to the field because he was having a pretty good season so far. Next, we have Allen Hurns, 5 receptions, 68 yards. Patrick Laird, 4 receptions, 38 yards. Devontae Parker, 2 receptions, 28 yards. Mike Gesicki, 1 reception, 6. Myles Gaskin, 1 reception, 6 yards. Albert Wilson, 1 reception, 5 yards. Durham Smythe, 1 reception, 2 yards. And Mac Hollins had 1 target but no catches. He was trying to get, I think we got PI on that call. I wasn't sure if it was him or Gesicki, but they were just running along the sideline on the right side of the field. And then the ball was kind of underthrown, and he was trying to come back to it, and the defender got in his way. Next, we have, for the Jets, Robbie Anderson, 7 receptions, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. Then we have Vincent Smith, 1 reception, 37 yards. Jamison Crowder, 3 receptions, 30 yards. Ty Montgomery, 3 receptions, 30 yards. Demaryius Thomas, 2 receptions, 28 yards, 1 touchdown. Bilal Powell, 2 receptions, 14 yards. Ryan Griffin, 1 reception, 8 yards. He got injured pretty early on in the game as well. Daniel Brown, 1 reception, 7 yards. And Braxton Berrios, 1 target, no receptions. Now when it comes to fumbles, Ryan Fitzpatrick fumbled it twice, and he recovered it once. And then Marcus Searles, guy who usually returns the ball for us on kick returns and punt returns now, he fumbled it, but he also recovered it. And then Patrick Laird, I believe, recovered one of Ryan Fitzpatrick's fumbles. And then for the Jets, Robbie Anderson lost one, had a fumble, was right on the out of bounds, pretty right there, and just before the Dolphins can recover the ball, it had touched the out of bounds line. Sucks. Jerome Baker was almost there for the recovery. Sam Darnold had lost, he fumbled as well, and Bilal Powell recovered it. Now defensively, we have Vince Beagle, 9 total tackles, 6 solo, 2 tackles for a loss. Next is Eric Rowe, 9 total, 5 solo. Let's see, Jerome Baker, 9 total, 4 solo. Ryan Lewis, 7 total, 5 solo, and 1 pass deflection. Nick Needham, 2 pass deflections. Let's see what else we got here. Adrian Colbert, 1 pass deflection. Andrew Van Ginkel, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Sam McGuavin got a QB hit. Stephen Parker got a pass deflection. Charles Harris got a QB hit. Then when we go to the Jets, James Burgess had 13 total tackles, 10 solo, 1 tackle for a loss, and 1 pass deflection. Then we have Darryl Roberts, 7 total, 7 solo. Kerryon Brown, 5 total, 5 solo. 2 sacks for Jordan Jenkins, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 QB hits. Marcus May had 1 tackle for a loss. Steve McLendon had 1 tackle for a loss and 1 QB hit. Then also Marquise Kennedy had 1 pass deflection. Henry Anderson, 2 QB hits. Floresano Fatusaki, I guess that's how you say his name. He had 1 QB hit. And let's see what else. Nate Harrison had 2 pass deflections and 1 tackle for a loss. QB hit. Quentin Williams had 1 QB hit. And Brandon Copeland had 1 QB hit. And Nathan Shepard had 2 QB hits. Now, both teams intercepted the ball. We have Stephen Parker intercepting the ball and returning it for 35 yards. Big play by Stephen Parker there. Love the interception. Just got up, grabbed it. Nate Harrison had 1 interception and no return yards on it. Jets almost had 2 interceptions, but the one interception that happened earlier in the game was called holding, so it got called back. And then anyways, he returned it to the end zone, but then realistically, if the play stood, he would have been marked down where he caught it because there was contact when he got the ball, and his knees were down. Now kick returns, Durham Smythe had 1 for return of 13 yards, and then Ty Montgomery had 4 returns for a total of 90 yards. Averaging 22.5, and his longest was 29. Next, on punt returns, we have Marcus Sherrills had 1 return for 7 yards, and then Braxton Berrios had 1 return for 12 yards. Kicking, MVP of the day for the Dolphins, Jason Sanders went 7 of 8. If he would have gone 8 of 8, probably would have won the game realistically. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. No extra points from him because we never scored a touchdown. And then Sam Ficken, the kicker for the Jets, 3 for 3 on field goals, and then 1 for 2 on extra points. Punting, Matt Hack, 1 punt, 45 yards, and then Lacan Edwards had 3 punts for 125 yards, 1 touchback. One of them was in the 20. That's pretty much it. Let's see some team stats. Possession was pretty much split down the middle. Dolphins had the possession for 30 minutes and 6 seconds. Jets had 29 minutes and 54 seconds. Total yardage, Dolphins 362, Jets 374, so we were right there with them. Both had one turnover each. We both had 22 first downs. Now, I want to see one thing, and that's the red zone. We're in the red zone 6 times and got no touchdowns out of it. Jets were in the red zone 3 times and got 1 touchdown out of it. Penalties, 5 penalties for 48 yards. Jets, 5 penalties for 88 yards. That's pretty much it. I mean, Dolphins fall to 3-10 now, and the Jets go up to 5-8. Unfortunately, Dolphins couldn't pull off the win here. If the Dolphins just scored 1, maybe 2 touchdowns, this game would have been a whole lot different. Dolphins would have won this game without a doubt if they got into the end zone, but unfortunately, the Jets stopped us from doing so. So that being said, tough loss. Definitely a tough loss for the Dolphins, especially coming off when you have great defensive plays that set them back, and then just on the very next snap you have a crucial penalty that pretty much costs you the game, puts the other team in field goal position. They get to run out the clock and then kick the game-winning field goal to expire the game. Pretty much put the game at the end. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a nice thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Click the post notification bell option. And if you haven't done it yet, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @BiosRamos. And also check out biosramos.com. And lastly, very lastly, fins up.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team.